Deadlifts for boxing.
Now, the deadlift is a fantastic exercise to use and use across all of our programs at Boxing Science, as it helps strengthen the lower body, overloads core strength and stability. Also fantastic to use across different volumes and intensities, whether you're working towards maximum strength, speed, or power. And then also it helps strengthen the posterior chain. Now, this is vital for boxers to develop because they're quite anterior dominant. A lot of their exercises are punching focus, so that's very anterior dominant. Bending at the knees are very anterior dominant, but we're actually needing the posterior chain to fire up, to help fire up that hip extension and rotation during a punch. It's also vital to strengthen up the posterior chain to help prevent injuries as well. So with the deadlift being really important for boxing, there are also quite a few different limitations. Boxers are quite tight in their hips, which means that they struggle with that range of motion to be able to get into that bottom position of a deadlift. Again, like I said, they're very anterior dominant, so not being able to really strengthen up that posterior chain, and it's not a natural exercise for them to do. They're quite tight in their shoulders as well, which means that they're likely to round when picking up the bar, especially in them deeper positions. Also, lack of posterior shoulder strength can affect the postural stability during heavy deadlifting. So these are a few different limitations and considerations to make when implementing deadlifts with boxers. So in this video, we're going to be providing a range of different exercises along with the coaching cues and strategies to optimize the deadlift for boxing. To get a little bit more out of the kettlebell deadlifts, what we can do is perform it with bands. Now, this is a perfect exercise to use with athletes that are new to the program, learning them movement patterns, developing them strength foundations, but also at the same time, they're preparing for a fight. They want to feel like they're getting stronger and more explosive. With the bands, what it's doing is increasing that tension at the top range of the lift, which will increase acceleration. This is perfect for athletes that are not only new to the program, but those more advanced athletes that are just returning to training camp, because we're increasing the amount of load at the top range of the movement, we're increasing acceleration, but we're doing it at relatively lower loads. To do it in your gym, you might not have a squat rack like this, but this squat rack is perfect for this kind of activity where we're getting the bands on different anchor points either end of the squat rack. Similar to the kettlebell deadlift, our feet are just going to be wider than hip width apart, toes pointing forward. We're going to hinge at the hips and bend at the knees at the same time, with the hips being above the knees. The kettlebell is on line with our feet, pinning in those shoulders back, taking that deep breath in, and we're accelerating through. We needed to lift fast on the kettlebell deadlift, but with the bands, we need to lift even faster. Keep chin tucked in, shoulder blades back, driving through the heels, deep breath in, and we're firing all the way through. A common mistake that athletes will end up making is not getting that full hip extension at the top, especially with the bands being involved. So you need to make sure that you're driving and getting them hips all the way through. Also, with the bands might end up athletes being a little bit rounded through the shoulders. So you need to make sure that you're cueing to get them shoulder blades pinned back, take that deep breath in, and firing all the way through. So if athlete is struggling with that range of motion, start rounding, especially at the bottom, what could be a good option is to raise the kettlebell ever so slightly. So you can use a weight plate, you can use blocks, where you're just starting it with a decreased range of motion. This will allow your athlete to get into a stronger position at the start, making it a safer and more effective lift. Now, the trap bar deadlift is one of our best exercises that we use at Boxing Science. It ticks a lot of boxes, and it's pretty easy to do compared to a lot of different strength exercises for the lower body. Now, the trap bar, the reason why we use this in comparison to the straight bar is because on the straight bar, athletes are quite limited in their hip range. They're quite limited in their postural stability and posterior shoulder strength. So they're unable to get into that strong position to start off with. An athlete is losing their posture. That will affect the amount of load that's actually being lifted during the deadlift. So some of the common mistakes that I see athletes doing, first one being they get into the bar and they're almost a little bit too upright when they're deadlifting. They become too knee dominant, so more loading going through the knees, And also with being upright, having to extend their back a little bit more. So more loading going through the spine. Another thing that I'm likely to see is when they come to it, they lift, and the first thing that moves is their body. Okay, you want to make sure that the body and the weights are moving as one. You don't want to see the body move and then the weights move after. Again, that's just going to pull on that lower back. Another thing is losing that posture throughout the lift. So you need to make sure that you're keeping a tight grip, deep breath in, and that'll keep that trunk nice and strong all the way through the lift. A key thing that I like to see as well, across a rep range, let's say 3 or 5 reps, instead of seeing rep after rep where you're going up, going down, and then going again, I'm wanting to see 3 to 5 single repetitions. So in between, I have this analogy, the 3 R's. Rest, reset, repeat. After a deadlift, we come down, we rest. So we lose that shape a little bit. We reset, so we get into that strong position. Deep breath in, shoulders back, tight grip, pushing through the floor, and then we repeat the action. The main thing that you need to do in this, in terms of the reset, is you need to tense up. So I use the analogy that you want to be like a NASA space rocket. So if you think about a space rocket, counts down from 10, 9, 8. What you like to see is the jet fuel start going, but the rocket stays stable. And basically it's being held into that position until it can create enough energy to then shoot up into space. Imagine if that stabilizer wasn't there. Likewise with a deadlift. So with a deadlift, if you're not creating enough energy, especially when you're getting up to them heavier weights, is you're likely to lose that shape. So what I want you to do, get a tight grip, deep breath in, take that slack out the bar, so you're tensing up, and then you're driving up. And what you see is no change in terms of my posture during that lift. So with a rack Romanian deadlift, we're actually starting it at the end position. This will reduce the eccentric loading because we're not having to transition from an eccentric to a concentric phase. We can go a little bit faster through that eccentric phase as well. And it's getting ourselves into a stronger position at the start. This will help reduce that eccentric loading, but also help us load up that action a little bit more. So we're actually going to reduce the muscular soreness and eccentric demand, but also increase the amount of load that we're able to lift. So we're going to get better strength adaptations from it. We're going to start off the bar just below the knees. We're going to get over the bar where shoulders are in line with the toes and we're pushing the hips back. What's really vital here is to take that deep breath in, pin those shoulder blades back. If you've noticed with my grip, I'm now taking a mixed grip approach because with the Romanian deadlift from standing, we're not actually loading it up that heavy. So I'm able to keep it in an overhand grip. And we use a mixed grip because that will help my grip strength during high loaded actions. Improved grip strength will reduce any rounding of the shoulders and keep my shoulders remain in that neutral position. We're going to get nice and close to the bar. We're going to slight knee bend, push our hips all the way back so then our shoulders are in line with the toes. Take that mixed grip, deep breath in, shoulders back, and then we're firing all the way through the action. I'm coming all the way down, rest, reset, repeat. So that's the rack Romanian deadlift, a really beneficial exercise for athletes that are looking to strengthen the posterior chain, looking to overload that hip hinge action with reduced eccentric loading. Key things to look out for, athletes will start feeling really strong on this. So they can end up starting to run before they can walk. So they think like, right, if I can lift 80 kilos on the Romanian deadlift, they'll probably be able to lift 120, 130. And that jump between the Romanian deadlift and the rack variation, they might be able to perform it, but the body might not be ready for it. So even though they're feeling strong doing this, don't just keep stacking the weight on. Start raising that weight incrementally. And then just be mindful at that start position. You're not wanting it to be too low, okay? You're wanting it just below the knees. And you want to make sure that you rest, reset, repeat every single time, because especially being in this low position with the hamstrings fully stretched, it's going to be really exposing any weaknesses in that posterior chain. So you just got to make sure that you're approaching each rep, taking that deep breath in, pinning those shoulders back, and really driving through that action. Okay guys, so that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. If you are wanting to find out more about our coaching techniques at Boxing Science, go and check out the Ultimate Coaching for Combat Sports workshop. This is the most popular strength and conditioning workshop in boxing and combat sports, where we break down the Boxing Science training methods that's used with world champions. This has been delivered in multiple locations around the world. Now you can get access with just a click of the button. This is brand new, it's insightful, and it's going to take your coaching and your knowledge of sports science in boxing and combat sports to the next level. Up-to-date research and training techniques presented in online webinars, practical demonstrations, and a 100-page ebook jam-packed full of information and our boxing science training secrets. If you're interested in this, go and check out the link in the description, and you can also get 20% discount using this discount code, Ultimate Coach 20. You can get access to this course at a much cheaper price. Okay guys, so that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future content, including workouts, breakdowns of the training champions, and also your Q&A sessions. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully see you on the next video at Boxing Science.